Hey everybody, Todd here. I just wanted to let everybody know I hope you're safe and staying healthy. God willing, we'll be through this coronavirus situation soon. In the meantime, we've rolled out a way to still do depositions. We're doing them remotely now via the free Zoom app. Many clients are already seeing the advantages of this because it can be done from anywhere and on any device. I've already done a podcast about it and started a resource library for it at www.toddolivas.com/remote depositions. Check that out or give us a call at 888-566-0253. Okay, on to the podcast.
As people, we're very resilient, I think humans are, and that's what's so beautiful, but also sad about us at the same time, because my grandpa used to say, if you want to kill a frog, you put it in a cold water and you gradually turn on the temperature. It won't know when the temperature has hit its limit. And that's, at times, I think it's what doesn't work in our favor. But at the same time is what makes us able to get up and accomplish what we can accomplish, and not allowing scenarios to dictate the outcome.
We are good. Okay. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Betty, for coming on the T.O.A. Storytellers podcast. We are coming to each other's homes via Zoom today. But I just wanted to say welcome and thank you so much for making the time to talk a little bit about your story and about how you came into the industry and also how you've been managing through, this COVID-19 stuff. But first, we wanted to make sure that we pronounce your last name in the most perfect way possible. So let me practice. I've been practicing.
Yes.
Your last name, your first name is Betty, of course, but last name is Mugemancuro.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. It sounds like music, doesn't it? It has like a little rhyme rhythm to it, doesn't it? Yes.
I love it.
East African.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you.
So we're also joined on this call with John Castro in the sunglasses.
Not from my house, but technically kind of my house. I'm always in my car.
I know.
But not during this COVID-19. I've been home more often with my wife.
And we'll get into all that. And then we also had Jonathan Castro on there in the plaid.
I'm here, working from home, like my kids.
Working from home. Yep.
She's screaming.
And I'm Todd Olivas, and I'm also here from home as well. So Betty,
yes,
thank you so much for coming on here today. How did you even get into comp? What was the history of all that?
Well, thank you for having me. I don't know. Does anybody really know how they end up where they are? I just, it's been a journey, I would say. And it started out with me having a claim, actually, myself.
Oh, really?
I sustained an injury to my back when I was 19 for a company that I was working for at the time. And they called me in to do like light duty, like type of work when you're just not able to do your full capacity type of thing. And it was just a door, I believe, God opened for me at that moment, because I had been in the parking lot pushing carts. And I was just thinking, this is the last summer. I told myself in my head, this is the last summer I'm pushing carts. I can't do this, Mm-hmm. And it worked out that way, that I would sustain an injury that I didn't realize was a big deal. At the age of 19, you don't think it's, anything big. And then to end up being sent to the corporate office at that time to do the light duty. And I was going to college at the same time. So it just, it was like a wonderful, only God can do it, transaction that happened for me, where he answered my prayers, as in, you're not pushing carts anymore.
Awesome.
And I ended up in the human resources department at that time. And 5 years into that, I was getting close to completing my degree. And I asked to find out what the other side did, the risk management side. What did they do? So then I applied, and they didn't have a position, but they said they will create one for me. And I did mostly like safety things and And one day I got a call saying, "Are you interested in learning more about work comp, as in being a claim examiner?" And it's another thing where I had just met my husband. He was living in Connecticut. I was living in California. It was a long distance relationship. And
Those are tough.
I was 28, right? And my parents were in Connecticut as well. So it was just like one of those things you're like, we were talking marriage and everything. And I was like, do I pack up and move and go to Connecticut, or do I stay here? I wasn't feeling Connecticut though. I love him, but I wasn't feeling.
It gets colder in
Connecticut.
right? Yeah.
The winters are rough. And the summers are not so kind. I'm sorry, Connecticut, but I don't know about that state. But anyway, so I was like, I really would prefer to stay here. And I was having this conversation where I was thinking, I want a job that will make it possible for me to have my kids and have a balanced life. And I didn't see it at that time where I was at. And that conversation came up. The person told me, so that weekend, actually, I was having a conversation with Patrick on the phone, long distance relationships. And he was like, well, you need to come here. Life will be easier. My mom is here. Your parents are there. Like, life would be a lot easier for us if we like had that support system here in Connecticut. And I was thinking, Lord, I don't see it, but okay. And interestingly, that weekend that I was having a conversation with Patrick, my boss had a conversation about me possibly applying, being an adjuster. And it's just interesting how God always in my life, I've noticed he always finds a way to it just works. You don't have to work hard you don't have to force anything. I wouldn't say work hard, but just not having to force anything. And that's exactly how the transition happened for me to go from one man to another. And so when I got that Monday, when I went back to work and got they proposed that to me, I was excited. I was nervous. Then I called Patrick and I was like,
guess what?
Remember that conversation we're having?
Yeah.
I think you're the one who's moving here.
How did he take that?
He was very open.
Like, what was his career like in Connecticut though? What was he doing there?
He was a civil engineer.
Wow.
He's a civil engineer even now, but he was just at that place where he was just like, I don't mind changing. I love California. He had visited me a couple of times here. And he was like, okay, let's move forward. And I'm going to start applying for jobs over there and see where things go. I ended up starting my position as an, they call it IAP now, but it's like a claimant,
Right.
training course in September. And he moved here in July. And we were both like in this new place at the same time. And it was just really nice. He gave us a new beginning in the same level kind of thing.
Wow, just imagine that, like, you're pushing carts and then all of a sudden look up a few years later and then you're in this whole other realm of, that's how life is. You're speaking our language, by the way, when you talk about God reaching into circumstances and shaping
Yes.
you, and you don't really need to worry, you know what I mean?
Well,
I feel like I'm a person of faith as well.
Now, I love how you say
have to
about
trust in
opportunity.
him, and if you trust in him, go ahead. Sorry, Jonathan.
Yeah, no, I was just speaking about the opportunity, how you said, like, an injury, which, for many people, it's like, okay, that's kind of like, it'll bring you down, depression sets in. It's really a negative moment in life, but it's like with faith and, really, it's like the outlook determines the outcome. If you have a positive outlook, there's good that can come out of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. You know what I've learned from some of these is that a lot of people have got into this industry either through a family member or a friend, but also because of an injury.
Yeah.
Right.
We've
heard this a couple times, and it's pretty amazing.
It's very true.
Right.
So when you made that shift and all of a sudden you're doing claims and stuff, how did it go? Did you enjoy it? Obviously you're still in this world, so it's a good fit for you, sounds like.
Right. The first 6 months, I was ready to go back.
Oh, really?
I was like, I'm not sure about this. This is hard. It's like it's really hard to explain to someone who's not,
It's a
who's not doing it.
Relationship.
Yes. It's really hard to explain to someone who's not doing it, to explain them. It's a constant balance where, you feel like 1 minute you're an attorney, 1 minute you're a doctor, 1 minute you're dealing with the employer, 1 minute you're dealing with the client. It's just this constant balance where you're never going to make anybody happy. That's for sure. And that was hard for me because I realized that I'm a people pleaser. And so not being able to feel like you have met anyone's need at a full capacity. My degree is in human resources. My minor's in psychology. I love people. I want to connect to that level, and it was just not as what I thought it would be. Coming from where I came from, where you actually make impact and you touch people's lives, they know you by name, and it's different. So what I had to do for myself is that I stopped associating people by claim numbers. I wanted to know your story. So when I made my initial contact, I wanted to know your story. I needed something to remind me who you are, that there is a story behind this person that I'm dealing with. And so that's how I started connecting with my injured workers. Even now when people call me, I'm like, don't give me a claim number, give me their names. I don't want to associate them by claim numbers. They're a person behind this situation. And that's how I relate to them.
What's your average range of number of files that you personally have these days, under you?
Ooh, my caseload varies. I go from 150 to 130.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
That's my happy place, 130.
130 is right there, a sweet spot. Beyond that, it becomes too much.
Yeah, beyond
stories.
150 becomes a little bit much, but not that you can't manage. You always find a way.
That's amazing. Can you imagine?
Go, Johnny.
Jaito, you love talking when I talk, but I can't even imagine having that many files because especially if it's by name basis, that's a lot to handle. You guys are amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, I really like what you mentioned about, don't give me a claim number, give me a name, and it's, especially because I feel in California, maybe the way that regulations and law is written, it makes it maybe easy for fraudulent claims to come through. People say, well, I think I can get away with it, and maybe it makes the adjusters a little callous to where like, you know what, this is probably gonna be another fraudulent. But the truth is, most of them are injured workers that they just want to get back to work, right? Like, I think about when I get in a car accident, someone rear-ends me, and it's like, I just want to get back to normal. I just want to, and I love that you say it. It's real people with real injuries, with real problems too.
Right.
And the majority of them, like you said, they're not lying. It's just to what percentage are they lying to, or trying to,
Right.
That's what it is. You got to figure out the sweet spot. Okay, this is what happened. This is how much really he must be hurt. But, you know.
I once heard somebody say something to me that when somebody's lying, they're protecting something. So even if let's assume the worst case scenario, they are lying, they're protecting something. So it's not my place to come in and, it's my job to investigate, right? And determine the causation and where did this injury arise from and all that, as we know. But once I discovered that there's just like, you're protecting something, you don't realize that you're in a hole, right? There's multiple reasons why people lie, but the foundation of it all is because they're protecting something. So I choose to believe that they're protecting their family. You have to think of, I cannot operate in a place where I'm negative, I'm toxic. I don't like that place. And it's easy to go there. And this particular situation that we're all in makes it really easy to, I was just saying to my husband the other day, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, it's so sad that when we turn on CNN or the news, whatever you're getting your news from, all you see is number. Like, wow, like, how is this okay? Like, I don't understand it. And it's overwhelming. It goes back to me, like, I'm from Rwanda. That's where I come from. I don't know if you guys know the story, but it's sad to see lives, like people pass away. And it's, so for me, it's like, it's not, I don't do well in a negative place. I've realized that some people thrive under stress. That's not my place. I need balance. I need consistency, and that's not something you find in work comp. So you have to really work hard within yourself to find it.
Right.
Yeah. No, and I get what you're saying, because it's like when you see the news and you just get stats and a graph and, you know, state by state and then color chart, it desensitizes people. Like, I think, you know, I grew up in Colombia, South America, and, you know, during the violence, like, you know, first it was the drug cartels, then it was the guerrilla. And, you know, the same thing on the news. It's like, oh, today they killed this many people here. They kidnapped this many people here. You know, as a, you know, preteen teenager, you kind of just like, it's a new normal. It's like, today 5 people died. Well, okay, well, that was a regular Thursday, you know, and it makes people callous. And I think that's not normal. I think that's not the way that people are meant to be. People are meant to care and feel and fellowship.
Right.
And so, and, you know, right now, this is COVID-19. It's a very strange place for many of us to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, only 55 people died in California today. Like it's not a big deal, right? And it is. Each of those are alive.
Right.
Each of those had a family. Each of those
100%
were. It's actually, you're right. Totally correct. You know, Betty. It's really difficult to see numbers and with no names on them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, so talking about the new normal, you know, in this state we're in, sheltering in place still, were you already able to, prior to this, were you already doing some days at home, or have you shifted 100% and it was brand new for you?
No, it was brand new.
Oh, wow.
It was brand new. It was 100% brand new. Now, I'm one of those people that had the ability to work from home, and not necessarily like on a full-time basis, but like when I get home and have some things that I need to finish up, I can still log in and do it. So it wasn't too much of a shock, like that part of it. But with my kids here,
that's the shock.
Trying to balance this thing where, like I said, balance is in me. Trying to find this balance where I'm all of a sudden become a teacher, and I'm not that good at being a teacher. And all of a sudden having to clean your home, cook, teach, and just doing it over again. No change, just constantly just repeat button. That made me a little bit cuckoo for the first 2 weeks. That's
what was my disclaimer at first. I was like, you know, I'm working from home, but so are my kids. You know, so forgive the occasional scream.
Right.
You know, it's just, you know, it's funny because they're like, I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, and it's just like they're stuck at home 2 months. It's like but the good thing is most people are gracious. You know, all of us, we're all in the same boat, kind of like when it comes to that. So
yeah.
Hey, and is your husband working from home as well, or does he still go away to an office?
He works from home, but because of his job, sometimes he has to go on site to check things out. But we're all here. We're all in the same space. And our guest room has turned into an office, which is interesting. And then the kids are in their rooms when they're doing their Zoom meeting for their class.
Right.
You know, I'm thankful for teachers. Oh my goodness. I was like, I literally had to send like a sobbing messages to all my kids' teacher, just telling them how much I appreciate them and how much
it's so true.
Like, I'm just like, I never said this enough, but I really, really thank you, because these little minds are just complicated. Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. My wife's a school teacher, and she's been she gets messages, not kidding, every single day from a parent, from parents just thanking her for everything, because they saw the growth of my wife's a school teacher for kids with autism. So
oh my goodness.
And they're between 3 and 5 years old. So it's really difficult. It's a lot of patience. And she's funny because she says, at school I have a lot of patience, but when she gets home she doesn't have patience, but because it's
She's
lot
run
of work.
out.
Yeah. Yes. I'm like, if she had patience with kids, why can't she give me patience with myself, you know, or my kids? But yeah, it's.
Wow. Hey, Betty, what ages or what grades are your kids in?
Oh, I have a first grader and a fourth grader.
Okay.
My my almost 10 years old, my oldest, Jacob, he is very adult-like.
Oh.
And challenging because he has a structure. He's just like me. He needs structure, he needs direction, and he needs consistency. And it's really hard. It was hard for him at first. And the school that they go to is a Christian-based school, and I'm so thankful for that because they get to have. It starts with prayer in the morning, and they had you're still while he's doing the hikes, and while he's doing that, he's having ministers, like he's giving them a word of encouragement, really? Telling them how to maintain those principles that they've taught them, even at home. And then they have, like, their teacher's really amazing because she stays online until closing time, which is 3:00 for them normally.
Right.
So they can pop in anytime and ask her a question. And the other day they had like a prayers time where you get to put in a prayer in the prayer box, right. A message for. And I cannot tell you, a lot of these kids, their parents are physicians. I cannot tell you how many of them were saying, "Pray for my dad, pray for my mom. I'm worried about their safety." Wow. Pray. I don't see my dad that much because he's working so much. And oh my God, that just broke my heart. Like at the age of 9, I wasn't worried about my parents' safety. You know what I mean?
That's the hardest thing of being a parent, especially right now, is trying to explain something that we never went through. My 4-year-old, for example, "Papi, I want to go to the store with you." And I can't, you can't go, baby. But why? Because she's so used to coming with me. Because there's a lot of sick people. We don't, we can't see if they're sick or not. And she's just like looking at me clueless. And
right.
It's very difficult times. I mean, I can't imagine being a kid and looking at your parents and asking questions that they don't even know how to respond to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, shout out to your school. That sounds like an amazing school you got your kids in.
I'm, when the school begins and they tell you tuition went up, you're like, oh, but then this time, like, you are so worth every penny, and more,
yes,
every ounce of it. And, and then they have their chapel still. And it's just like this amazing place that they're not just, like they said, there's not just about academic. It's about emotional intelligence, and that's what they're gaining from being there. So I'm very thankful for that school.
Hey, several times during our conversation just now, it seems like faith has really shaped you, or an integral part of who you are. Would you say that kind of defines a lot of who you are, like your faith?
100%. Actually. When I was reached by John to be on the podcast, the first thing I said, God, I want you to be the one to interview me. So I've been praying for all of you guys.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
Because I believe that he's at the center of everything I do. And without him, I'm nothing. So I feel like my request every day is show me where to go, show me who to talk to, and what to say and what to do. So those are 4 things I try to remind myself, because the day in itself is a present from him right now. And so I need to be present for what he needs me to be, what he needs me to do. And I don't always succeed at that. Because it's so easy to get stuck and get in my own emotions. My aunt converted to is it Judaism? I always say it wrong. She's now Jewish, and she said something to me the other day because we were studying the 3 books of Moses. There's 3 books in the Torah. And so she said something that was so amazing. She said, God loves you that much more because you are a sinner. And that just made my heart, because it's like, I have a flaw, and and that very flaw is why God loves me. Mm-hmm. And so everyone that I come across have a flaw, and I shouldn't focus on that because that's exactly why God loves them. Mm-hmm. And so it's important for me. My grandparents, I was raised by my grandparents from the age of 2 to 7.
In Rwanda back then?
In Rwanda, yeah, in Rwanda. And my memories are sitting by the fireplace before I go to bed, and my grandma and my grandpa would read the Bible like it was like a children's story. Wow. You know, the book that my grandmother read to me so many times was the book of Esther. I mean, it was just like, as a little girl, it's like, oh my God, the only book you find in the Bible of a girl, and look how amazing she's. It's a superhero.
I always thought that Esther would be an amazing movie. Wouldn't that be like an incredible Hollywood movie?
Right? I don't know why no one has made it.
There's lots of twists and turns and heroes.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because there's like several passages and stories in the Bible that when I'm reading it, as I'm reading it, then I catch myself that for the last 10 minutes, I've just been daydreaming about turning this into a movie. And I'm like, angel will come down here. And then, you know, it's like, and then I'm like, wait a minute. Let's back to my devotional.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Betty, I don't know if you knew, but we're actually a Christian. You know, all of us, and the Todd Olivas boys, for example, we have a meeting every Monday. Now, right now, we're doing it through Zoom, but we started off with a prayer as well.
Amen.
And we ask for God for new ideas, and I think our company has grown from that.
Amen.
It first started with just Todd and I just taking walks and praying, and then little by little, you know, it became a habit having Monday meetings, and we even did Bible study. It's amazing. It's amazing when you have that faith in God, what He does, even through this hard times for our company. I think we've come out of it not only alive, but we've learned a lot from each other. Exactly. Our company has gotten stronger, I believe. We have more communication with our offices, and you know, I just think that we're all more connected now because of this. And even I could even say, even with my wife, I feel now that we work together pretty much because she's in the house at the same time as me. But that connection level with my wife has even gotten closer and better, and it's amazing. Amen. I think that God, you know, people probably blame God for what's going on right now, but at the same time, there's a reason behind it, you know?
Right.
So how has your faith helped you get through the last 8 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever we've been, Betty? You know?
Right.
Yeah. I can't imagine it time. Whatever week we are on. But like, I don't even know how people do life in normal times without some sort of faith, you know, but like I have relied on it more than I've relied on it in my whole life in the last 2 months, you know what I mean? How about for you? What's your experience been like?
I think as we are of a believer, what they say, faith is what you don't see. That's where we have to trust. And so for me, I've had to trust. I've had conversations that last all night long with Him, with God. Yeah. And I have to trust that my thing is this, He allowed it to happen. Mm-hmm. And so there's something in it for all of us. And that's what I was saying, that I felt like in the last few years, I think my life was in a fast lane, and I wasn't sure who was driving anymore.
You had said that earlier on, but we weren't recording yet. What do you mean by that? Fast paced, fast lane stuff. You know,
you just become so mundane. Like you get up, you drop off the kids, you run off to work, and you come back, and like, you know, Patrick is very involved in our community as far as Randy's community. In the last 2 years, he was the president of the community. So we were involved in so many things, and we live in Beaumont. So we had to, majority of our community is in LA. So we had to go to LA quite often, and we got involved in so many things that way, but it left me completely empty. I think like they're deep inside of me, there's an artist dying to come out. So really? I have always felt this way. I don't know where this comes from, but I enjoy coloring. Like since I was little, I've always enjoyed coloring. As I gotten older, it's gotten more complicated. Like I add more things to make it more
The coloring books, or
yes, I have a whole lot of that.
Hopefully, it's gotten better throughout the years.
It has gotten.
let's see some of this.
No,
and you're coloring between the lines.
And
That was my hardest.
I'm staying within the lines, but it's always been a thing that soothed me. And my first beautiful crayon set I got came from my grandfather, because when I was, I think, the age of 5, my mom was like, okay, you ready? Because my parents lived in a city. My grandparents didn't. They lived outside of the city. And so they didn't have a kindergarten school where my grandparents lived. So my grandfather, he was a professor. He will come from teaching, and he turned his garage into where I learned, school was. But he wanted me to learn colors and stuff. So he got me my first little, like a metal thing with I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 colors, pencils in it. So I became because I was the only kid there, right? So it became a thing where I just sat there and colored and created whatever. My imagination went wild. As I've gotten older, it's just gone. When I'm stressed or not quite there, I just like to sit there and color. So that's what I do. Beautiful. But I enjoy it. So that's what I'm saying. That there's an artist,
in there
that's dying to come out.
Bubbling up.
But but it got to the place where I could no longer color.
Why?
Patrick had tendency to give me books every year. On Christmas, I get a new book from him, and for Christmas, as part of my little thing, I had 2 books I hadn't touched, not even one thing, and that really bothered me. I had a journal. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this journal. It's called Passion Planner. And it's a beautiful illustration in there. And anyway, so it just helps you stay on track on how do you want your life to go, the direction. And I got one I got one in 2018, and I did not touch it the whole year in 2019.
So almost like your own busyness was disconnecting you from your true self.
From my true self, yeah. So I remember thinking to myself, something got to give. I really did. The beginning of this year, I said, I see a life coach. We have a conversation on a monthly basis where I get to check in. I do believe it's important to have mental health. It's very important for me. And so she said, we went through my life, we planned it out. She's like, well, something has to come out. You're getting more anxiety. I was getting more anxious. I was a little bit short with my kids. I was definitely short with my husband. Mm-hmm. I found myself missing things that I should miss, forgetting appointments that I had. They're just overwhelmed, truly overwhelmed. And in 2018, I got 2 ear infections. I'm like, I'm not a kid. Why am I getting ear infections? And the doctor's like, your body's on overdrive. Something is not right. And so I went to see a radiologist, and he told me that I had anger in my left eye. And I was like, okay, something is not right. Yes. And so I was just like, I need change. And I was literally on my knees praying to God. I don't know, everything that is in my life is there for a reason. There's nothing I can give up. I need to work. I live where I live, so I can afford to put my kids in a Christian education. What can I get out? There's nothing
and then all of a sudden,
and then this happens. And I was not prepared. I was not prepared for it. It's not what I had.
I think this whole COVID-19 is Betty's fault.
Right?
Yeah, so
I'd answered her prayer.
Time, and you prayed for this. I knew it.
So we all got it too.
We all got it.
I apologize.
No, don't.
Slows down. Everybody slows down.
I predict that there's 1 million people who will be able to relate to this aspect of this story.
You know what? 1,000%. I think that we were all on overdrive.
The rat race.
And even
I was
kind of like your story is going. I was even thinking I'm able to put a little bit more time not only into my family, but even my household. There was so many projects that I wanted to get to. I cleaned out a shed, which I never wanted to ever. I would, and I was able to throw away things and just little things like that, little details that my wife's saying. Always thought that I was pushing it to the side, and maybe I was, but at the same time, it's because I had no time.
Mm-hmm. Right, and you wonder, right? Why do we not have time? I mean, and so I just I just, when this happened at first, the first weeks, I didn't know what was happening. I just thought any minute now we'll go back to life, and I just became overwhelmed. And the thing that came out of this is my husband started doing, because we can't go to church now, right? Mm-hmm. And we started opening Sabbath together, where we were always busy. I was getting home at 8:00 at night on the Friday, because we're Seventh-day Adventists, getting home at 8:00. So I'm breaking the Sabbath already, number one. By the time I get home, I'm so tired. I have no idea what the kids had for dinner. We didn't open the Sabbath together like I was taught.
Yeah.
And I will get up really tired, cranky on the Sabbath morning. Let's go to Sabbath school. Let's get out. I'm too tired. Like, it was just this motion. I was just doing the motions, but not really in the moment. And since this has happened, we are actually like reading the Bible together as a family. We're praying together, not rushing, like repeating it on this pattern or like how it's none of that. It's like we have prayers with intentions, and
awesome.
And that has been great. That's
awesome.
I didn't recognize that, though. I have to be honest. I didn't recognize it, nor did I get there right away. It's just the last, I would say, 5 weeks or 6 weeks.
This new rhythm
when I found
sort of
right. That's when I started feeling like, okay, this is starting to flow. There's no need to go getting my nails done. There's no, forget it. That's not happening. I haven't got my hair done. God help me all. It's a nice little opera going on, but you do what you can and you just keep moving.
Hey, so when things start to lift, sanctions and shutdowns start to lift and things return to a new normal of some kind, what's the best way, you think, to protect this new family rhythm balance that you've been able to gain in the last 5 weeks?
Great question.
Keep that intact, but still go to an office and go to the community meetings and stuff, that stuff too. Like how to bridge the two worlds. What would be your advice?
For me,
asking for a friend.
Yeah. For me, I'm going to be careful what I add to my plate.
Yes. Be careful what you say yes to, right?
Yes, I need to. And
it's not bad to say no.
Right.
That's one thing I've learned even throughout all this is, you could say yes because I'm a yes person.
Me too.
Yes, Todd, I'll do that, Todd. Yes, I'll work on Saturday. Todd. No, but
he says yes to everybody, but no to his wife. Can you clean that? No, I can't.
Yeah, can you clean up the storage? I already did.
Yeah, so I'm going to be careful. I want to be a little bit more aware what I'm adding on. And so, because what is important at the end of the day, what God is going to ask me on that day is, what have you done with what I've given you? Right. And those are my kids. That's my husband. That's my nuclear space, and I need to nurture that. Yeah. And then everything else comes second.
Right. Plus, those little things that make you, like back to the coloring, back to the organizer. Yes. Those kind of things are also important to every facet of how you were made. That are important to flourish. Because you're right. These are all talents, and God wants to see you having used all your talents and invested them in their different appropriate ways. So
right, yeah,
that's good.
What's sad is that I was not hearing His voice anymore. Mm-hmm. And that was a lonely place because I didn't even realize when I stopped hearing His voice.
Right.
And now it's like I can feel the colors when I pray. I see the colors. I operate in that place. Mm-hmm. I see brightness when I pray. I see colors in things, and I hear Him speaking to me. And that is something that I haven't had in a long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. It's awesome feeling when you feel Him, more than anything.
Nothing like it.
You can pray, but it's the moment you feel Him.
Right.
When Todd knows the story, but because I usually talk to Todd about it. But when we were going through this whole issue and our numbers were really bad, and there was a moment you just feel like confused and not sure what's going to happen, and I remember praying and I just felt Him, like His hand on me, or I don't know, His presence around me. And sure enough, right, the next day, Todd got good news. And long story short, it was amazing. Like he was there, he was answering my prayer. And I'm sure Todd's and everybody else prayed for our company and for all of us. Because our prayers are not just for our company, but it's, for everybody.
For sure.
Right.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I know God is real, and
Amen.
I know he listens, and that to the extent that we want to be close to him, he wants it even more back. You know what I mean? And he is there. And so he's come through in so many different ways during all of this that it'd be a 3-hour podcast or 3-hour podcast probably. But,
we will max our Zoom limit.
We'll max out. We don't want to break Zoom. Hey, so the life coach thing. So you still are able to do those meetings with that person monthly, probably. Like this. Okay.
Yeah, I my life coach. She is. I've never actually met her. I've always had it over the phone, and that's another one. God thing. I'm telling you, it's just oof.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was having an emotional meltdown day, and I just talked to my best friend who's a therapist, and I said, I need to see somebody. And she said, you know what? It's beyond couch. What you're going through, you need it's spiritual. And my life coach is, operates from that and from that position. And so it's nice to be reminded.
It's awesome. Would you recommend getting a life coach to people?
Oh my God, I do. I do. Even Patrick is like, when are you talking to Michelle next? You know what I mean?
Some help. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I've always been aware, from myself. I'm very aware of my emotions. I think it came from my mom. She's very much about talking about your feelings. She's an artist, actually. She's the one who's a true artist, but she's always been very big on expressing ourselves and hugs and communicating. Our Sunday breakfast was a big thing for us because that's how we started our week.
Wow.
And so we had to sit on the table and had talked about what we hope to see in the new week, what we gained from the week before. We didn't really talk about what we learned because my father said mistakes are there to teach you. So don't get stuck on it. Mm-hmm. You can't grow without making a mistake. So you have to make them as part of growth. He even told me when my son was born, Jacob wasn't trying to crawl. He had a hard time with crawling. I don't know what it was wrong, but he just seemed to crawl and it looked like his shoulders were just going to come right out. And my dad was visiting and he said, make sure he crawls. And I was like, why? And he goes, you don't want a 2-year-old crawling because you have to go through stages in life. He has to crawl. So I was forcing him, don't skip stages. You have to crawl. So mistakes are important. They're part of that's where we grow from. The key is not to constantly repeat them because then you're just constantly regressing back, but it's to grow, learn from them and move forward. So our breakfast table was it's a huge feast with everything that's not really breakfast, with tomatoes and olives and cucumbers and all kinds of stuff because we sat there forever and had a conversation and got a chance to catch up with each other. And that's what we did. So for me, it's important that I go back to that place. Like
I think it's so true. It's like, but I haven't. So like in the past, when I wanted to get better at something, like I wanted to get in better shape, so I had a personal trainer for a while, or when I wanted to get better at guitar, I played guitar. So I got a teacher. So it makes perfect sense that if you want to get healthier and better thinking as a just a business person or in work or as a husband or a wife or just as a person, then have somebody that you would intentionally meet with that it would be an objective sort of
a health coach.
A life coach, health coach, mental health on yourself.
Betty's husband also used Natalie. And then Todd,
don't tell
Betty's husband.
our secrets.
No, but Betty's husband also lost. How much weight did he lose?
Initially, he lost 20 pounds, and the principles are still with him, and he's tries to remind himself to keep those intact. So he's been doing. She was a huge help to him. But it was so funny. Okay, so when he started, he has this thing right around his birthday that he is when he reflects, I guess, or not himself. He says that's his new year. Okay, great. So when he was started meeting with Natalie, it was almost 2 years ago. And he was turning 40. So it was a big deal to him, almost like a, I don't know,
turning point.
like he needed something. Yeah, it's like, oh my goodness. Yeah, he was nervous. It's like, I don't like what I'm seeing here. I don't like this. And I'm like, just stop talking about it. Do something about it. So when Natalie came into the picture, it was such a great thing because he was trying to come up with every excuse why it would not work. And Natalie was like, I'll be there. Even if you're at a restaurant, you can call me and I can tell you what to do.
Down from the menu.
And he was, oh my gosh, it was so amazing. And he was like, oh my gosh, she really, I'm like, yeah, there's no more excuses. So she got that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. I really resonate too with that your husband picks his birthday as sort of a New Year resolution kind of time of year, because in my life, my birthday is August 17th and every year. So it's like at the end of summer, the water's warm. And so for the past maybe 5 years or so, I've challenged myself that I'm going to go on my birthday, August 17th, every time, no matter what day of the week it is. Go there to the beach. And at Newport, there's a pier, and then there's a buoy that's out there about, 200 yards out there. And so every year on my birthday, I go and I swim out to the buoy and tap on it and then swim back. And so I figure as long as I'm staying in good enough shape at least to do my annual birthday swim,
right,
that I'm good. So,
right? Yeah.
So far, so good. I've made it back each time.
Oh, yay.
Oh, yay. No.
Yeah.
So I know there's some certain parameters on stuff that you shouldn't talk about as far as specifics about work. But have you noticed, just in general, in comp these days, because of the shutdown and shelter in place and stuff, that people have switched to more using remote methods like Zoom or WebEx and stuff to get things like depositions done, or,
I have encouraged it, and actually I've gotten a lot of settlements because during the depot, we tend to have a conversation, and currently the applicant's attorney are needing to generate income. So it's been great. Or use it as an informal conference to have a conversation and put that particular person in front of you and have a conversation.
Amazing.
So it's been great.
Because probably before all this, it wouldn't have been even an option to do these kind of things, right?
No, it wasn't. It took forever to get anybody to be available. Now it's like I said, it's not just for me. I think everybody's open now. It's like, what was I busy doing? I don't know, but we were all busy.
Oh, I know. Same thing with us. I mean, we had never done a Zoom deposition before in our lives. And we've been in business 17 years, you know what I mean? Doing mostly workers' comp stuff. But in March, we pivoted really quickly to start offering that, learn how to do it, learn the ins and outs of the legalities and stuff, and got all that squared away, made a guide to it, and started training clients on it. And sure enough, we look up and we've converted over 300 of them from previously they were going to be in person. Now they turned into Zooms or WebEx, ones, and just kind of a miracle, that an industry could switch so quickly and still get our job done,
Right.
That's been a blessing.
As people, we're very resilient, I think humans are, and that's what's so beautiful, but also sad about us at the same time, because my grandpa used to say, if you want to kill a frog, you put it in a cold water and you gradually turn on the temperature. It won't know when the temperature has hit its limit. And that's, at times, I think it's what doesn't work in our favor. But at the same time is what makes us able to get up and accomplish what we can accomplish, and not allowing scenarios to dictate the outcome.
100%. And for us, the hot water or the heating up water is like all the social media stuff, or the phone, or whatever, Netflix, or just busyness of life.
Right.
Up. Yeah. So true.
Yeah.
So when all that is removed beyond our control, then all of a sudden this whole new threshold is cleared the decks for something beautiful, like maybe return to ourselves.
Right.
It sounds like that's what you've been getting to experience as well.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I've learned a lot. I've gotten to know you, and I've learned. I was taking a couple little notes as we went, and one of the things that kind of stuck out was that when you said that when someone is lying, it's actually that they're protecting something.
Right.
That was really profound. I'm gonna really chew on that. Where you said.
No, I mean, that is an awesome perspective, like to think about. Yeah, I mean, it's different, and again, like what we hold dear or valuable, it's subjective, right? It's based on our own life, our own experiences, and so what we might think is trivial, for that person might be everything, and that's why they're lying to protect it in a way. So, it was very eye-opening.
And what I learned was that COVID-19 was because of Betty's prayers.
Watch out.
Is that what she said?
But I think the truth is, a lot of us prayed for something. For example, we prayed for a certain amount of more work to come in for this year, and maybe other people prayed to be closer to their wife or to their family, and or just other prayers. And I'm sure a lot of it they're going to be answered by the end of this whole pandemic time period. Who knows how long it is, but I mean, we got to do the best we can as to be together, and we're doing our best, as working together and working together with our wife and our kids and everybody at the house, but at the same time try to do a norm, just working in general.
Yeah.
So true. The other thing I really liked, you were mentioning, I think it was your dad that was talking about your son to not skip step, not just get up and start walking, but don't skip the crawling stages, because it's such human nature to want to skip to the good stuff, the fun, and avoid the hard work or the middle stages. But actually, those are so important to grow a person. And so for me, like my life, I've always wanted to skip steps sometimes, but no, God and circumstances will always keep me in place, and I'd have to do each one. And so it was just a great reminder of that. I really love that.
Well, this is also the same thing like that. I was building my kids a little go-kart, and I'm very big on not looking at the instructions, just look at the picture.
Okay.
And for some odd reason, when I finally built it, it wasn't driving. And I had screws left over, but I'm like, that's normal. There's always screws left over, I'm sure, because they always send extra screws. No, those screws were meant for the tires to rotate. So I literally had to start all over. And I blamed my wife because she wanted me to build it that night, and I just wanted to go to sleep. So
I blame my wife. Okay.
I tried building it as quick as possible to go to sleep.
Okay.
But yeah, skipping steps is not good.
No. Hey, any clue as to when you might be returning back to more in-person work at the office? Or have they said yet? Or?
No, they haven't really said. I think that at first was making me nervous. Like I said, I like structure, like to know what to expect.
Yep.
And having little ones, their summer programs, all of them are canceled at their school. So not knowing childcare, what am I going to do and stuff like that makes me nervous. But then I realized my job is not to look at that far ahead. My job is just to be present for this moment that I'm in. Because if nothing else, what I've learned from this is God is in control. And he got this. So I trust, I'm learning to trust, and that he will make a way out of no way.
Amazing. Well, I think that is a great place to just kind of wrap it up. That kind of puts the bow on the whole experience, or be present in now, and also trust. Trust that things are going to be okay, and that there is a larger good that is happening despite circumstances looking dire some days and feeling down in the dumps. But we have a lot to be grateful for still.
Amen. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
I'm grateful for you for having come on our T.O.A. Storytellers podcast. So impromptu. And
thank you.
Yeah. We'll have to
Yeah,
leave
I
this
was
again.
nervous. I was like,
Well, I want to do this again, but in person, and have you come, or we can come to your office or something, so we can get off Zoom and But
until then, thank you guys for having me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Betty.
Thank
you guys have a beautiful day.
Thank you, Betty. Okay, have a great day, everybody.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Hey, it's Todd. I just want to let you know this T.O.A. Storytellers podcast episode is sponsored by my company, Todd, Olivas and Associates. We've been supplying court reporters for depositions since 2003. If you're an attorney and need a reporter anywhere in California, we've got you covered. We're on a lot of preferred vendor panels already, but if we're not on the ones you have, usually a simple inquiry from you to your TPA or employer does the trick. Or if you work at a TPA or employer, please ask your defense attorneys to give us a try on one of your files. We've been known to treat our clients like family, and we would love a chance to work with you next. To schedule a deposition, simply call 888-566-0253 or visit www.toddolivas.com. That's www.toddolivas.com. Thank you, and hopefully we'll see you at your next deposition.